Well, the 2024 NBA season is finally upon us. Tonight was the opening night of the season, featuring two unbelievably star-studded matchups between four of the top teams in the Western Conference, and it provided a ton of excitement after an entire summer of anticipation. With both of these games going down, there is definitely a lot to learn from our first look at these teams, which brings us to the topic of today's video. Today, we'll be discussing the four biggest lessons we learned from the opening night of the season, giving us some notable things to watch for from each of the teams playing as the season goes on. Some of these will be pleasant surprises, some will be disappointments, and some will be in between. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first thing we learned from the NBA's opening night is that the Lakers' floor spacing is a legitimate issue. The Lakers entered this year with a very similar team to the one that made a run to the conference finals last season, with a few new faces thrown into the mix, but the same issues that held them back against the Nuggets last season still loom this year. If you're going to be able to compete with Denver, you're going to need to be able to go bucket for bucket with them, because their offense is a well-oiled machine built to put up a ton of points on a nightly basis. The Lakers have offensive firepower, don't get me wrong, but in today's NBA, you need reliable perimeter shooting to dominate, and the Lakers just do not have that. In this opening game, they shot 34% from 3 as a team, going 10 for 29 from deep, which is below league average, and I know using one-game sample sizes is a ridiculous way to come to a conclusion, but the Lakers were the 4th worst three-point shooting team in the league last season as well, so what I'm seeing is that they're going to experience a lot of the same things. Taurean Prince was a breath of fresh air in that department, knocking down 4 of his 6 three-point attempts in this game, but the rest of the team shot just a combined 6 of 23 from deep, and on a roster filled with streaky shooters, that's going to be expected more often than not. In the starting lineup, they have Austin Reeves, who is admittedly a good shooter, he's just not the kind of shooter that takes a high volume of attempts from deep, preferring to go to the basket and create off the dribble. D'Angelo Russell has made a career out of streaky shooting, so he will have hot streaks, but he's also more than capable of shooting teams out of the game. LeBron James still looks very spry attacking the basket, but his jumper showed signs of slowing down last season, and that looked to be the case again in this game as well. Gabe Vincent was brought in to be a shooter off the bench, but if you ask any Heat fans, they'll tell you that the Gabe Vincent experience is also filled with inconsistency. So in short, the Lakers should still be very good this season, just like they were at the end of last season, but their crux will be their ability to punish teams from beyond the arc. The next lesson learned from the opening night of the NBA season is that the Nuggets bench is a lot better than anticipated. The Nuggets are the defending champions, and they returned all 5 of their starters from that championship winning side, so it's not like anyone expected them to drop off, but during their title run last year, they ran a tiny 8-man rotation, and 2 of their 3 bench players that they trusted throughout that run left in free agency, losing Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. There were a lot of question marks about their depth coming into the year, with a ton of new and, quite frankly, unfamiliar faces stepping into minutes, but tonight they definitely quelled a lot of those concerns and even invoked plenty of reasons to be excited about what they have. Christian Braun is back, providing the same energy and tenacity that he provided as a rookie off of the bench for them last season. Reggie Jackson brings experience as the backup point guard despite not really being in their rotation during the playoffs last year, and then Peyton Watson and Zeke Naji were the wild cards who passed their first test of the season for that bench unit. Both Naji and Watson played good hard defense in their minutes. Reggie Jackson kept the offense flowing and even knocked down a couple of big threes. Brown continually did a good job moving without the ball, finding lanes and getting to the basket, and the bench unit was actually able to extend their lead when they came in. Last year, the Nuggets went through stretches where their bench unit would crumble when the starters needed a rest, and their leads would evaporate, so the fact that the starters were able to get their breather and actually return to the game with a bigger lead is a very pleasant surprise all around. The next lesson learned from the opening night of games is that the Suns can get away with being as top-heavy as they are. When you build a team the way that the Suns have this offseason, you tend to have to make sacrifices elsewhere. They went all in on building a super team with two superstars in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker leading the way, along with star player Bradley Beal, serving as arguably the best third option in the league. But Beal wasn't healthy to play tonight, so the brunt of the work was placed on the shoulders of Booker and Durant. The concern was always that they don't have enough depth around those guys to actually check all of the boxes that a championship team needs, but what we saw tonight against the Warriors was that the supporting cast is absolutely capable of filling those holes. Yusuf Nurkic is by no means a perfect center inside, but he is a fantastic rebounder who can dominate the glass. He rolls well in the pick and roll and has nice touch around the basket, and he's actually an underrated passer at the center spot. Josh Okogie is a guy who is out there for defensive purposes and defends very hard for sure, but he also chipped in with 17 points tonight. Eric Gordon may not have shot the ball very well, but he still knocked down a huge shot in crunch time because of the attention that those other two stars were getting, and when Bradley Beal comes back, he's going to open things up even more for them, which is a scary sight for the rest of the league as they came away with a big win on the road in this game. Kevin Durant shot the ball pretty poorly as well. There is definitely a lot of things they still have to work on, but ultimately, if there's one thing you can take away from this game, for them, it's that betting on talent to win out is usually a good bet. And finally, the last thing of note we learned from tonight's opening night of games is that Chris Paul is going to fit in very well in Golden State. The Warriors may have lost the game tonight against the Suns, but they too were shorthanded, missing Draymond Green to hold things down defensively, so it's not the time to overreact to a loss, because after the Chris Paul move came under a lot of scrutiny this summer, he provided them with exactly what they needed from one of their guard spots. For one, with the Suns being one of their main competitors in the Western Conference, they needed a more capable perimeter defender, and Chris Paul is a night and day upgrade over Jordan Poole in that regard. Chris Paul also finished the game with 9 assists, playing the role of distributor, not getting in the way of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson getting their shots up, and actually setting them and the rest of the team up for some pretty good looks. Nobody on the team really shot the ball well tonight, so the fact that they were able to keep the game as close as they did without Draymond Green can be looked at as a long-term positive, and the fact that Chris Paul seamlessly seems to fit into what they want to do is definitely something to continue to monitor as the season goes on. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what stood out to you the most during these games. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.